Roxy.
This is the way we're going to start it, isn't it?
It's going to carry on. Well, Ecuador and the Galapagos.
Yeah.
Such an important destination for us. And what inspired you to go there? What was your first trip like to the Galapagos?
Yeah, I think my first trip was about 10 years ago, and it was amazing to get the opportunity, because so many people, you always hear everybody talking about their different travels, and Galapagos was just always just mind-blowing for everybody, and I was so excited. I don't think I really knew what I was going to see. I knew there was going to be lots of wildlife, but it really does it's so unique, and the fact that there is so much wildlife and they just have absolutely no fear of human, I think was definitely what took me back. I remember getting off the plane and we went down to the water and we were going to embark the boat, and there was sea lions, and I was there taking every photo at every angle, and I just had no idea that the rest of the trip was just going to be like that the whole way through. Yeah, it was really amazing, and yeah, such a bucket list took place. What about you? Like, you must have felt the same.
Yes. I've been I've been trying to get to the Galapagos for a long time. I mean, my first attempt was I flew out during the 80s to Ecuador when I was a very naive, green and young backpacker, and thought, well, I'll be able to get on a boat even from the mainland or fly out there. Didn't work out. Had a great time on the mainland, and that's another point actually. I mean, if you're ever considering going to the Galapagos, don't forget the mainland. I mean, it's
I think it's overlooked.
It's definitely overlooked.
Yeah.
There's some great highlights, and that Central Avenue of the volcanoes is one of the most scenic routes you can take. But back to the Galapagos. So I didn't make it the first time. Subsequently, I arrived. I've been there a couple of times now, and the first time is absolutely a unique experience. It is all of that. I mean, you can't believe how close you're getting to the wildlife, and the nature experience is beyond par. I mean, it's one of the most exciting places in the world, and it takes you, if you're there for a week, the best part of a week, to get used to not stepping on the wildlife.
Did you travel by boat? I can't even remember how you did it.
Yeah. No, both times I've been there, I've travelled by boat, and personally, I think that is one of the best ways to explore the islands. I mean, if you have sea legs, then you make the most of your time. It's very precious, the time that you have in the Galapagos, and in terms of most of the boats will operate overnight between the islands, so it clears the days to make the absolute most of the time that you have, the daylight time you have.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to recognise the difference between the islands, because the Western Islands, like, I don't think I appreciated it until I got there, that they're so volcanic and really raw, and then you go to the Scalesia forest of Santa Cruz and it's like suddenly you're in like cloud forest. It's crazy, the difference. So yeah, I love kind of getting to see the complete difference. You can be on like a Mars like landscape, and then suddenly you're in rainforest. It's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't appreciate that the Galapagos Islands are an archipelago.
Yeah,
it's like a geological conveyor belt. I mean, up in the northwest, you're starting with Fernandina and Isabella, and these are the youngest. They're active islands. We've had clients take boat trips at night past exploding volcanoes, which is extraordinary. We can't guarantee that every time, but they were very fortunate. And these are the youngest islands, actively volcanic. And the geological interest of the Galapagos is extraordinary. You get these islands being gradually dragged down to the east, and the oldest islands, they're corroded, gnarled pieces of rock which are gradually eroding into the Pacific, and it's fantastic personally, I think that east-west itinerary gives you the best geological overview. And of course, the various stages in that progression from the youngest to the oldest, the various islands host very different and very unique wildlife.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I think you can really do, like, it's fair to say that any of the trips you kind of have a mind-blowing experience, but just to have the knowledge to have that little diversity and to see that all in one, and to come back and go, wow, I really saw what Darwin wrote about, and all of those the difference in the geology, because Hispaniola, like, that's going to, at some point, it'll go underwater and it will be no longer an island, but yeah, it's amazing to see the difference. Did you spend a lot of time snorkeling? Because I think that was my favourite thing for me, was the underwater, actually.
Yeah, well, this is, a lot of people are quite surprised and I find it quite unexpected that the interest is, I'd say, really 50% on land, 50% above water, 50% below. And I think, the Galapagos have some extraordinary snorkeling opportunities. I mean, typically you'd be out in the water once or twice a day. One of my favourite all-time snorkeling experiences is the Devil's Crown, which is among the older part of the island archipelago. It's a semi-submerged volcanic crater that actually has some quite strong currents around it. But, around the outside of the crater, you're swimming in deep water. I mean, if you're lucky, at certain times of year, there are hammerheads. You're swimming over turtles, rays, but you can swim through a gap in one side of this semi-submerged crater. And then you're into an aquarium of beautiful, colourful, exotic fish in quite shallow and quite warm water, before then you get swept out the other side and back into the deeper, cooler water. And it's one of the most exciting. Yeah,
it's amazing. I have had some really amazing snorkeling experiences there. I remember one of them, I think it was off of Santa Cruz, actually, but I had so many, like, young sea lions just swimming around me, and I wasn't really sure, because you have this feeling that you should be keeping a distance, but it's them that are invading your space, not the other way around. But yeah, I had them coming up and, like, bumping me at my snorkel, and some people would find that quite unnerving, but I think you kind of, after a couple of snorkels, you kind of get comfortable. But I've also seen, I was following a little shark, and it went in and it pulled out a snake underwater and killed it. It was absolutely amazing. It was amazing, and just to kind of see it attacking its prey was so brilliant.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, and that was just off of Santa Cruz. That wasn't even. It was off Santa Cruz.
Throughout the islands, the snorkeling is consistently really good. I mean, I've snorkeled with a 5-meter manta ray.
Have you?
And it's quite humbling when you're in the water with something that size. But repeatedly I've spoken to people in the Galapagos, experienced divers, who say, actually, the snorkeling here is better than most of the dives I've done.
Yeah, that's the one thing I wish that I haven't done yet, but I haven't been and dived the Galapagos. I'd love to do that, because and see some more of the whales, because the whales generally best in, like, July, August, and I've been mainly in May and November, but diving and whales are the two next I need to tick off the list.
Diving and whales. So on that note, I mean, we should talk a little about what are the best times to go to the Galapagos. I mean, any time really is best, but seasonally.
Well, I love May, June. I love that time of year because the waters are really calm. I think there's so much going on, and the number of the eggs are hatching around that time. Lots of young all on the islands. I think there's so much to see, but I only ever really hesitate around the July, August, September time, because obviously if you are you haven't got your sea legs, and that's slightly rougher waters, but then at the same time that brings through all of that clarity in the water, the cooler water from the Grua coming through, and so I think It's really hard. It's a really hard question. I get asked all the time. What about you?
Well, I mean, so broadly speaking, there's two main seasons.
Yeah.
First half of the year is warmer and slightly wetter. Second half of the year,
being very minor rain, which is not exactly a wet destination.
No. But you know, the second half of the year tends to be a little cooler and drier. Although you do get this phenomenon called garua, which brings in mist and fog at that time. But honestly, I mean, you know, there's always, consistently throughout the year, there's reasons to go to the Galapagos, and there's very specific things to see, natural experiences to have. I mean, you know,
well, yeah. If you want to see like the courtship rituals,
you
have to go at a certain time, and if you want to see the sea lion pups, you have to go at a certain time. So that's very true.
And the boobies, I mean, the blue-footed boobies tend to be mating in the second half of the year. As are the sea lions. But towards the middle of the year and towards the end of the year, that's when you see the big migrations of whales and dolphins.
Yeah, so that's why I'd love to see the big migration round Isabella. And things. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but there's never a bad time to go in. I suppose the only thing is, you know, most of the boats we deal with provide wetsuits. Is part of your deal. I mean, what is an average day like on a boat in the Galapagos?
Well, you go out twice a day. That's what I think is really, I think sometimes people worry about the structure being so regimented because it is a national park and so everything has to be regimented, but that really makes the experience because they're limiting the numbers, they're making sure that everything is protected. Like the national park works so hard to conserve the area. I think it needs to be highly respected. So you have generally the one landing onto the islands, and then one boat kayak excursion. Obviously, it depends on where you are, but the islands, it's all set out in advance over the 2 weeks, and the boat split it up over 7 nights, 3 nights, 5 nights. I do agree with you. I think a week is the best, unless you're maybe a family traveling and kids might get a little bit agitated, but I think there's so much to keep them interested. I've never actually had a family come back and say that there wasn't enough going on, my kids were bored.
as a mother yourself, Roxy, I mean, would you recommend the Galapagos is a really good destination for families?
Or? Oh, I can't wait to take my kids there. They're a bit small at the moment. I think it's a challenge to just work out what's right for you. If you're taking really young children, then I think either a land-based or a land and boat combination. I think that's probably the best option there, because it is hard for younger kids and they do need space to run around, and the poor other parents there listening to their children when they're manic. But like we have the villas on Santa Cruz, the private villas, so that works beautifully. And also the Galapagos safari tent to camp, like that would be so fun to take the kids up to a luxury camping experience, and then also do the boats. But I think as the kids get older, they're just so taken aback by the wildlife. I think you can easily put teenagers on a week cruise, but maybe the younger ones, that combination. Certainly for me, I don't think I could risk a full 7 nights with my children in a cabin, but a villa I think works really well for that.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, just to be clear, I mean, you know, if you're taking a boat trip, you can do anything from 3 nights up to full 2 weeks if you want. But I think 7 nights really enables you to be given an overview of some of the highlights.
Well, you can't reach the outer islands if you're not going on a boat trip.
Yeah,
that's the point. That is the thing. There's only 3 islands really that have any sort of town. So yes, it's lovely to stay on the islands and to have your space and to have that freedom, but you are limiting what you see. So if you combine it with those boats, you get to see Española, Floriana, you get to go round Isabella rather than just being on the land. I think that's the important thing, is to recognise that if you are on land, you will get to see stuff, but a great wildlife and do the snorkelling, but you are limiting because you can't get to those outer islands.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some really good hotels and places to stay on the two main islands, San Cristobal and Santa Cruz, which offer kind of day trips out. But so that's a big decision: land or boat, and you know, or even a combination of those. But whatever you do, you're not going to be disappointed there. So, I mean, what do steps do that make the experience perhaps a little more special?
Well, I think first and foremost we have to recognise the work that we do with the conservation charities out there. We're very close partners with the Galapagos Conservation Trust, and we are a small company overall in comparison to the big operations out there, but yet we support financially huge projects out in the Galapagos, and I think that's really important. I certainly, from day one, I've been with Steps for 13 years now, and I've known of the Galapagos Conservation Trust from day one, and now we're so lucky to have specialist charters. That's something that we couldn't do years ago, and now we can do that. And I think the fact that we have a specialist on board who is taking us to their research projects, we're able to break out of the restricted boundaries that are set to go to these projects to see their work. I think the opportunity that gives our travellers is amazing, especially those who have a real heart for conservation and really want to see what they do there.
Yes,
and you've travelled on one of our specialist charters.
I have travelled on one of our charters.
And you saw that. Could you see that working with the park guide and having the leader on board? Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, any trip to the Galapagos, all the Galapagos guides are very good. There's quite strict rules on their education and training.
And they're all from the Galapagos.
They're all from the Galapagos, and so you're never going to have a poor experience. But to be accompanied by a working member of the Galapagos Conservation Trust who's going to introduce you to their efforts for tourism to be sustainable in the Galapagos and their projects to protect the species on the island and their projects to get rid of or deter invasive species is absolutely fascinating and adds a completely new exciting layer. But we also, I mean, you know, as a company, we're quite keen to provide that extra level of interest, and to that end, I mean, in the past,
different conversation, isn't it? It's bringing a different conversation to what you would get.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, to that end, in the past, I mean, we've had a couple of times. Richard Dawkins is accompanied.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Absolutely extraordinary to be accompanied.
Yeah,
by
undeniably an incredible mind to spend a week talking to him and finding out about everything that he's done.
Absolutely, and you know, we've also run regular charters with well-known marine biologists.
Well, Jonathan Green is my firm favourite.
Okay, why is Jonathan Green your firm favourite, Roxy?
He has just got such a passion. I love it. You just can't help but just want to just join his next trip and work with him. His whale and marine research is just it's so fascinating, and he just brings such a bounce and excitement. I just think he's a wonderful leader, and we've had him so many times. But we also we've had a number of other specialists. Liz Bonin joined us. And Joe Ruxton, who was the producer of the seminal film on plastic pollution, A Plastic Ocean. Yeah, we've had some. Yeah, we've got some wonderful.
So, and a little bird tells me that somebody called Martha Carney might be joining.
She may be. Yes, 2026. Yeah, and we also can't forget the fact that every one of our travellers gets a membership with the Galapagos Conservation Trust. So I think the fact that the journey doesn't finish at the time you return. You can then follow their work, and you can. I've actually had a few travellers who have become trustees of the trust, and are actually now travelling back to the Galapagos to do the research. So it's really lovely to see that continued journey and conversation, and to see that it's really made an impact to the travellers that we've sent out there, to have that introduction to the work that we partner with.
Yeah, and we're very firm believers in the benefits of what the Galapagos Conservation Trust do and the quality of their work. I mean, for every booking that we take, we'll contribute $200 towards the Galapagos Conservation Trust.
So if you, going back to the travellers, if you had to give them one bit of advice, what would that be? I get asked this all the time, so I'd love to know.
One piece of advice.
It could just be what to take.
Okay, well actually, a couple of things. First thing, what not to take, and you know that there are very strict rules about what you can bring into the Galapagos. I mean, certainly no kind of seeds or produce
Cleaning
which can be invasive,
boots,
but also they're absolutely outlaw single-use plastic. So don't take any plastic carrier bags with your kit in. And actually, if you take walking sticks, you can't have walking sticks with metal spikes on. You're okay if you've got cats for those.
That's a really good bit of advice, actually.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to jump in with mine because it's a great one. We were talking about snorkeling, and I would say the biggest question is always, do I need to snorkel? And I say, well, no, you don't, but you're missing out. And you can now get the full face masks. And those, I think, have really transformed the comfort for more nervous snorkelers, and so I've had a lot. I've recommended them, and they've been really well received, taking the full head mask snorkel. So I think that would be my top recommendation.
And finally, you know, it's really exciting when you get back at the end of the day and you've been out seeing the most extraordinary scenery, wildlife, and been in the company of really experienced guides, and you just want to talk with your fellow passengers and just discuss how exciting things have been and what they've done and what you've taken away from it. Don't get too carried away with the wine, because you know the days start. Well, it's costly, but the days start early, and you really want to be fresh and aware and awake for every experience you have.
You do. So,
and one final thing. One of the big decisions is to have a balcony, not to have a balcony. I mean, typically as a company, we deal with smaller boats. We're not so much in favour of the larger boats, which are beginning to be seen in the Galapagos. So the majority of our boats tend to be for 16 passengers, 8 cabins. And actually, I mean, you know, when you think that the majority of the time you're off the boat, you're doing stuff, you're in the water. But if you are going to have that glass of wine, it's great to have a little balcony.